If you are successful enough in America, you can expect to be sued. There are millions of lawsuits filed every single year. There are billions of dollars ordered to be paid out every few days. By being proactive in your planning, you can help avoid losing your assets due to some litigation.
This week's guest on It's Not That Deep is Blake Harris, an asset protection attorney and a founder of the largest asset protection law firm in the United States.
What's the real power of a trust fund?
Being able to live your life, run your business, and not live in fear.
Today, Deep and Blake will discuss how to protect your assets, the misconceptions about offshore funds, and how to protect yourself from losing money from being sued.
And unfortunately, that happens to many people. But by proactively planning, that no longer needs to be a worry.
Blake Harris, welcome to the It's Not That Deep podcast, brother.
Deepak, I'm looking forward to going deep with you.
Well, it is called It's Not That Deep, but oftentimes we do go deep, and that's what will happen today. So you're the founder of Blake Harris Law. How long have you been practicing law?
So I got my law license back in 2010, so around 15 years. Started my law firm about 12 years ago and have since grown it into the nation's largest exclusively offshore asset protection law firm.
Awesome. And we're definitely going to dive into that. But I actually like starting my podcast with a bit of a different question, a little more open-ended. But
bring it.
How do you define success?
How do I define success? Well, there's a few different ways to define success. And I would argue that success is far more about life than just money. Though that can lead to a life of success, but I've certainly met people with lots of money who I would not want to live their life, and I've met people with moderate levels of wealth that seem very happy. I wouldn't say it's just happiness because there's more to life than your own happiness. There's also the ability to take care of the people you want to be able to take care of. So I think success is a matter of being able to get to do the things that you want to do and the ability to avoid doing the things you don't want to do. So no matter how much money you have, you're not going to get to do everything you want to do. But if you have enough money, you can avoid doing a lot of the things you don't want to do. And that's real freedom. So I think success is a matter of getting to live the best life you can live.
Really well said, man, and I appreciate that. And that's why I kind of like starting the episode this way, because I want to learn what success is to you. It's different to everyone. Everyone has a bit of a different answer to that. And today we're going to be talking a lot more about how you are able to live a life of success with what you do. And so I'm excited about that. On your website, it says, "Don't let a lawsuit take everything away." This is a very powerful statement. What inspired it?
It is the basis of everything that I do. I authored a book a little bit over a year ago called "Don't Let a Lawsuit Take Away Everything," where we outline strategies that can be used to help mitigate your chance of being sued and help you hold on to your money in the event that somebody ends up getting a lawsuit judgment against you. There are millions of lawsuits filed every single year in the United States. There are billions of dollars ordered to be paid out in judgments every few days. By being proactive in your planning, you can help avoid ending up on the wrong end of a lawsuit or losing your assets due to some litigation.
Yeah, again, well said. I mean, I didn't know that about the stats there. That's crazy. And so where can people find the book, by the way? That's really interesting.
Amazon.
Anywhere you get books, basically.
Correct,
Right?
yep.
That's awesome.
Not the Amazon jungle, the bookstore. Go ahead.
Not the Amazon
You're down in
jungle.
Colombia,
Okay,
so I had to
taking
clarify.
notes. We got to clear that up. How prepared should someone be for a lawsuit, even if they've done everything right?
Well, if you've done everything right, then you're as prepared as you can be. You have the peace of mind knowing that you've done your best to put yourself in the best possible position. And then at that point, you accept fate. Your fate is probably going to play out quite well if you properly structured your asset protection plan.
Got it. What led you to specialize in offshore asset protection? Like, how'd you find the niche kind of between finance and law?
Well, I will tell you this. They do not teach offshore trust in law school. It was a matter of really finding something that called me. I remember being in law school, and one day my professor said, "The only thing you need to know about offshore trusts is that I would never do them." And I went by and saw him after class and I said, why? And his response was, I would never do them unless certain criteria are met. So I said, okay, you keep teaching the rest of the law students, never do an offshore trust, and this would be a wide open market for me to go after. And for 10 years now, I have focused on setting up offshore trust. My law firm has been told by multiple trust companies, international trust companies, that we have sent them more business over the past few years than any other law firm in the world. So it was something that caught my ear even back when I was in law school. It's something that I have targeted for my entire career. And now, having traveled to around 50 different countries, met with trust companies, protectors, attorneys, CPAs, clients throughout the world, we've developed a level of understanding and a Rolodex and knowledge bank that I don't think anybody else in the industry comes even close to having.
So for those who don't understand what an offshore trust is, explain like I'm 5 years old.
Easy enough. Think about a trust like having a friend, let's say your next door neighbor, and you purchase this beautiful 99-foot yacht. You enjoy cruising around on it, but you are concerned that because of all of your success, somebody may come and try to take a bite of it. So you just go and give that yacht to your next door neighbor. Some time goes by, you want to use the yacht. Your neighbor will say, no problem, you can use it anytime you want. Enjoy it. Go sail around on it as often as you'd like. However, if you end up getting sued, nobody's going to be able to go and take your neighbor's yacht. The same is true with an asset protection trust, but instead of your neighbor holding it, we put it in the hands of a foreign trustee. The problem with the neighbor holding it is the court could still try to claw that back and take it from your neighbor. But if your neighbor, friend, trustee, whatever we want to call them, the person holding your assets is outside the United States in a jurisdiction which by law will not honor any U.S. court order, in the U.S. court orders, all of a sudden, you've got yourself some protected assets.
Got it. Okay, so that makes sense. And then at what stage in someone's life or career should they seriously consider this kind of structure?
So generally, it takes a net worth of about 1 million to justify setting up an asset protection trust. There's this misconception that you need to be super wealthy, and this is very far from true. The super wealthy can actually afford to pay judgments and move on without too much issue, but the individual is worth $1 to $10 million in assets. If they get hit with a $5-10 million judgment, that could be absolutely devastating for them. So usually around the time an individual's net worth is $1 million, it's worthwhile to have the discussion about setting up an asset protection plan.
And what's the difference between, an asset protection plan like you're talking about and it being offshore?
Sure.
I mean, like you hear about trusts all the time and people having trusts or trust fund babies or that type of thing, but you don't like hear about it being offshore. Like what's the difference there?
So the difference between a domestic trust, which my firm does not touch, and an offshore trust, which my firm sets up probably more than any other law firm in the world, is simple. One of those two trusts can be broken by a U.S. court. The other cannot.
Got it.
Easy enough.
Got it. Easy enough. It's
Yep.
basically
Explain like you're
like,
five.
yeah, no, I love that. Simple and straight to the point. Yeah, because I guess if there's a judgment against you, then the US government or courts can actually go after it in some way or another. But, when it's outside of the US, they
Your
can't. They don't have
jurisdiction, game
the
over.
jurisdiction.
Exactly.
What are the key differences between places like the Cook Islands, Nevis, Belize, or Switzerland?
So there is more than probably 24 options for setting up an offshore trust. Different, there's 20, 30, maybe even 40 different, probably 20 to 30 different jurisdictions which allow for the use of an offshore trust. However, there are only 3 jurisdictions which have good codified protective laws, case law to support it, and they routinely, frequently, and welcome American clients. And that would be Cook Islands, Nevis, and Belize. Among those 3, Belize has an excellent law in place, but its regulatory environment is a bit unstable. And it's not my preference of where to set up a client's trust if we can get them set up in either Nevis or the Cook Islands. Nevis regulatory environment is tighter than Belize. It's better in Nevis. It also has a codified bond requirement of around $100,000, which deters a lot of creditors. However, our top preference remains the Cook Islands, as they have been in the industry longer than anyone else. They have excellent case law to support their legislation, and its increased distance from the United States serves as a deterrent for anyone who's trying to litigate against a trust. As far as Switzerland is concerned, Switzerland is not an asset protection jurisdiction. It's a great banking jurisdiction. We do open up lots of bank accounts for our clients in Switzerland, but those Swiss accounts are then owned by a Cook trust.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. So there are a bunch of different factors that you're looking at. I'm gonna phrase this a little bit of a different way, but you can kind of say the same things in summary, and I'll have the editors here clip this because I think this is gonna be a great clip. But um, how do you help your clients choose the best jurisdiction for these types of offshore asset trusts?
If I can give my clients a Cook Islands trust, I will do that. If their risk level is too high for the Cook Islands, then we'll explore Nevis or Belize. But the vast majority of trusts we're setting up, Cook Islands Trust.
And again, that's because of the different factors such as the regulatory environment, how much case law to support it, how long they've been in the industry.
And the quality of the trust companies.
Got it. Makes sense. How important is the legal ecosystem of the jurisdiction when structuring a strong plan?
It's important. The regulatory environment, the stability of the government, the safety of doing business there is very important as well. The Cook Island, which is in pre-association with New Zealand, is one of the least corrupt, most transparent countries in the world. So we have plenty of confidence with our partners in Cook Islands. And Nevis was shown to be a very safe place to do business as well. We've never had any issues with the trustees that we work with down in Belize, but it's well known that Belize is not known to be as well regulated as the Cook Islands.
Got it. Makes sense. What kind of assets are most commonly held inside these trusts?
So the most common assets would be liquid assets, stocks, bonds, cash, crypto. All of that can be held in an offshore account owned by the offshore trust. However, the trust can own other assets such as real estate or a business.
What's the real power of a trust fund? Last year it went viral thanks to the "I'm looking for a man in finance" with a trust fund, the blue eyes TikTok, and there's many stereotypes around this around the world. But what is the real power of a trust fund?
Peace of mind, being able to live your life, run your business, and not live in fear. If you are successful enough in America, you can expect to be sued. And it's not fun seeing years, or in some cases, decades of work disappear because of one lawsuit. And unfortunately, that happens to many people. But by proactively planning, that no longer needs to be a worry. And even if you create the trust and 10 years go by and you don't use the trust, or 20 years go by and you never get sued, you actually did get a benefit from that trust every single day, every single night when you went to sleep. Peace of mind is a very valuable thing, and that is what a trust can provide our clients.
How flexible can these offshore structures be to adapt to the client's personal and financial profile?
Very good question. So, an offshore trust is technically irrevocable, which means that a court cannot order the client to break it. However, it is a very flexible structure. So, clients could have the trust amended, they can take funds out of the trust, or if they want, they can take a complete distribution and essentially dissolve the trust. So, they have pretty much all the flexibility and benefits of a revocable trust while still having their assets protected from lawsuits, litigation, or divorce.
What are some of the most common mistakes you see people make when trying to structure things on their own?
Okay, first of all, waiting too long. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of the cure, and this is certainly true when it comes to asset protection planning. The farther in advance you do the planning, the better results you are going to get 100% of the time. The next is not going offshore. As we discussed, a domestic trust can be broken by a domestic trustee, and you can go to my website, blakeharrislaw.com, and read all about case law of domestic trust, case law of an offshore trust. It is night and day. They are two very different results you are going to get. And then the third is not working with the right provider. There are quite a few attorneys who will set up a Cook Islands trust, but the number of attorneys who really focus on setting up offshore trusts, like my law firm, is very small. And the laws regarding offshore trust, offshore banking are continuously changing. So someone who's trying to handle offshore trust and another area of the law, the chances that they're going to get the offshore trust portion of it done properly, very small.
What makes choosing a good trustee or protector so challenging?
It's not challenging. It's easy for me. I'd been to the Cook Islands and Nevis and Belize and Seychelles and Cayman Islands, and I could continue to go on and on about all the places I'd been. And I've met with these trust companies, and I've gotten to go out to dinner with them, and I've even gone bungee jumping with one of them beforehand. I've had lots of time to build relationships with these trust companies and see how well they treat my clients. What is hard, what may be challenging, is finding the right law firm to work with. Once you find the right law firm, we will guide you into the right relationships with the right offshore partners. For somebody who's brand new to it, yes, I understand if you're trying to do it on your own, figure out who to hire, then you could end up hiring the wrong person and bad things could happen. But as long as you have the proper guidance, as long as you're working with somebody who has set up many offshore trusts before, and that person works with the most reputable providers, which are the only providers my law firm works with, you're going to get a great result.
How much control does a client really keep after transferring assets into a trust?
So pretty much complete control. They ask the trustee to jump, the trustee says how high. They tell the trustee to invest a certain way, the trustee will invest according to their request. Anything you ask the trustee to do, they will do, provided that you are not under duress, that you're not acting solely because a court has ordered you to act a certain way. As long as you're acting by your own free will, you'll have complete and total access and flexibility and discretion over your money.
How do they determine that you're, not under duress or, that it's completely free will?
When you request a distribution, the trustee requires you to sign an affidavit under penalty of perjury that you are not being compelled to make the request, to request the distribution.
Got it. Got it. How do you balance legal protection with personal accountability, especially if someone has done something wrong?
So what's interesting is lots of people say offshore trusts, aren't those just for criminals? Well, my response is, well, criminals drive cars, but the difference between a car and an offshore trust is anybody with the cash to buy a car can buy a car, no matter what your background is like. But if you want to set up an offshore trust, there's a thorough due diligence and background check that goes in place before the trust gets set up. So if somebody has made money through drug dealing or through some other illegal means, you're not going to be able to set up a trust. You're not going to be able to open an offshore bank account. On the other hand, if you have something smaller in your background, you got a DUI 20 years ago, you got caught with a small possession of marijuana, you had a minor incidents, or there's a small lawsuit going on, these are issues that the trustee usually does not have a problem with and will still allow you to set up the trust. Now, if it's a pending case, you might need to set some funds aside to cover a pending case. But for future litigation, as long as your disclosure passed, there's nothing too terrible back there, then generally we don't have any trouble getting our clients' trust established.
What's your view on people who use the law as a weapon? Like, what's the line between defense and aggression?
Use the law as a weapon. That's what us attorneys are. We're weapons. We're weapons on behalf of our clients. Weapons make a person protected, and we should all, to the point that we can properly and safely, knowledgeably know how to use them. I'm pro weapon.
Okay. Many people don't take legal action out of fear, ignorance, or laziness. What's your perspective on that?
I think the future belongs to those who plan. The future also belongs to individuals, business owners who are open minded enough to look globally to the solutions to the problems.
Got it. Well, that's a
If
great
you're
answer.
trying to cook
Um,
the best dinner, you're not going to get your pizza and wine all from the restaurant down the street. You'll get your pizza delivered from Italy, you'll get your wine from Napa, you'll get your avocados from Mexico.
Yeah, no,
The
makes sense.
list goes on from there. You get your
W
asset protection with the Cook Islands, you get your bank account in Switzerland, and you get your attorney from Miami Beach, Florida.
I love it. Um, so what excites you most about the future of your firm and, the legal world in general?
The the relationships. I have developed a team that is absolutely incredible. They are so smart, so hardworking, so client focused. They see the big picture of if we do a good job for our clients, if we're transparent throughout the entire process, we are going to build a great client base. And getting to work with good clients, getting to work with a good team, and seeing that team grow has been awesome. And I'm super excited about the way that the team is going to continue to grow in the years to come. I certainly love when clients say, Blake, you saved my assets. Blake, I know that if I die, my wife is still going to have some money to retire on because the trust you set up, the trust worked exactly as you promised. Yeah, that is very rewarding as well. But what really motivates me is seeing the team that I'm building and the individual I'm becoming as I continue to grow the business, grow my own wealth, get more power. With that can be even more of a force for love and good in the world.
Yeah, talk to me about that a little bit more. I mean, that person you're becoming, because again, how we started this podcast is talking about exploring the premise of success, right? And simplifying it. So talk to me a little bit more about that of like, who you are trying to become and what steps you're taking to get there.
So I started on this journey, as I mentioned, about 12 years ago when I founded my law firm. I was living in Denver, Colorado. I had a set of boy girl twins that were less than a year old, and I didn't know a single person in Denver other than my wife who had moved out there with. And I had to figure out how to grow a client base. And it was some serious struggles. And when I got that first client, it was so precious to me. It was like a newborn baby, a newborn egg that I was so careful with to make sure that they just had the best possible experience. And when the second client came in, I did the same thing. And now, 10 years down the road, having serviced more than 1,000 clients, we still take the same mentality of treat every client as well as possible. And that's been a big reason that our business has been so successful, the excellent client service that we show to everybody who comes through our door. So it was a struggle along the way, but with that, who you are changes over time. Initially, I was my own paralegal. In time, I was able to hire a team of paralegals to handle some of the more routine tasks. I moved more into the sales position. I've since built out more of a sales team. Now I'm spending more and more time more and more time communicating with our trust companies overseas and managing our own internal team and speaking to individuals like yourself where I'm helping to get the message out there and get education out. So it's required me to continue to change my skill set, push me beyond my comfort zone, try new things, take new risks. And with that, I have become somebody who is able to be resilient during hard times. The path to success is not a steady upward path. It goes up, it goes down, and you learn not to get too excited when things are going real well and not to get too upset when things are going down. You just be the individual that continues to grind no matter what. And when that happens, the success is not necessarily immediate, but inevitable.
Mm. I love that, and that's such a powerful frame because, being an entrepreneur myself and someone who's been running a business for the last 4.5 years with my business partner, I've definitely seen the ups and downs and just trying to figure it out and managing a team and, then when you start, when you talk about sales and the importance of that, to me, one of the biggest things that, I mean, I've learned in the last few years is the power of relationships. Talk to me about, how important that is in your field.
I think it's very important both internally and externally. I'm a fan of social media and I'm a fan of using the internet to spread your message, to market your company, to build new connections. I spend a lot of time making content. I spend a lot of time communicating with people through social media. However, I'm equally just as big of a fan of meeting people in person, the in real life connection. You form a special bond which you're not able to form through the internet. And it's a reason why I spend about half my time traveling around the world, meeting with our clients, meeting with the different people who we do business with. I think a lot of people who are good on the internet marketing side are unwilling or unable to do the in-person side. A lot of people who do the in-person marketing well are afraid to go on camera. But if you want to be as successful as possible, you really have to come together and embrace both of those. And so building the relationships is important, and providing value and letting your clients and your team know that you are there to support them. That if they are in a bind and they call you, you will show up for them. My team knows that if they need anything, 100% of the time, I've got their back. And my clients know that in a bind, they can always contact a member of my firm, but if they ever need me, I will make myself available for one of them.
Yeah, and people can feel that, right? When it comes to, when it comes to being the type of person who will pick up the phone, who will be there for your team, who will be there for your clients, that goes such a long way. And with your firm, I could tell that if when I do get to the place where I want to be, doing offshore asset protection, I'll definitely be giving you a call for that.
Appreciate that.
Kind of switching gears a little bit, but what's the biggest professional challenge you've had so far?
The biggest professional challenge I've had so far, well, this has not been an easy industry to break into by any means. When I was in the Cook Islands recently, somebody asked me, how did I manage to break into this industry? Do I have a family member in the industry? No, I don't have any family members who are anywhere near this industry. Some in the legal profession, but not in the offshore industry. I started out young as an entrepreneur and was never afraid to go door to door to sell whatever it is I was selling, to pick up the phone and call someone who may want to sell, to put myself out there and risk embarrassing myself. And I took that same mentality into this industry. And early on, it was difficult to learn the business. I had to spend a lot of money. I probably spent hundreds of thousands of dollars buying knowledge from other attorneys. I had to travel to faraway places by myself and cold call to try to get meetings. And it was very hard kind of getting started and getting into it. But once I got into it, after doing it for so many years and servicing so many clients, I realized that I really had gone on a path that few others had. And if anybody else wanted to try to take the same path, they really had a very uphill battle to get to. And now that I'm where I am, I feel like there's a lot of momentum. It is much easier convincing someone to work with you when you're no longer when you're no longer a small firm attorney, but instead you run the nation's largest exclusively offshore asset protection law firm, when you have more years of experience behind you, when you've negotiated special deals with the trust companies and protectors and other providers to provide your clients better value. So it was definitely a hard industry to get started in. And I'm an individual who pushes myself hard and pushes my team hard now that we are very well established in the industry, but to continue to grow and continue to be better and never getting complacent.
Wow, what a great answer. And then to me, the big thing that stood out is like breaking into this market, despite it being super blue ocean and not that many other people were doing it. You had to invest in that knowledge and buying that knowledge, like you said. What specifically did you have to invest in?
So when I started practicing law, I was working at a trust law firm, and I think it was maybe my third night. After my third day of work, I went home and Googled what is the most complex type of trust, what's the most expensive type of trust, and I discovered offshore trust. I remember looking at them that evening, and then I went and contacted the attorneys who did this type of work. And I said, "Hey, I'll make you a deal. If I find a client, can we split the fees?" And some said, "Sure, I'll take pretty much all the fee. I'll give you a few bucks." I said, "Okay." And I did that for a few clients, and I renegotiated where it was closer to 50-50. And then over time, I was able to take more and more of the fee. And now my firm's able to keep the full fees that we charge directly for ourselves. But it took negotiating deals with other attorneys who are established in this area, and then also just outright paying hourly. And the attorneys who do this type of work are not charging $200 an hour; they're charging closer to $2,000 an hour. But it is very valuable.
In a way smaller scale, I can relate. When my business partner Jamie and I got into this world of organic short form content creation, it was very bluish, and there weren't other people doing it 4 or 5 years ago. Now, I mean, everyone and their mom makes short form content, and it's very popular and common. However, we were kind of first to be able to do it all for people. So come up with the ideas, film it, edit it, and post it, and offer that in a neat little package to people, and actually perform, like actually get people millions and millions of views and followers and all that good stuff. But then on the back end, converting that into actual clients and money for people. So for us, I can relate though. It was difficult, like almost convincing people that this was even like a thing. Like, no, you can go viral on TikTok or something and it can grow your business. No, we have sold yachts off TikToks. Like I know it looks like there's 12-year-olds dancing and stuff, but you don't know who's on the other end of that phone. Breaking into that world, I mean, we didn't know what we didn't know. So I've invested hundreds and thousands of dollars into coaches, mentorship, different courses, like learning as much as I could so we could kind of maintain that competitive advantage that we did have. And it kind of sounds like you did that at obviously a bigger scale and something more rare. But it's really interesting, though, that I find a lot of people are not willing to do that when there's no clear path. Now, I mean, now everyone has ChatGPT or whatever, and they could probably go and, just find out a lot of information pretty cheap and easily. But you had to actually go and seek it out and then put your money where your mouth is. A lot of people in the legal world, especially, I mean, I have had many clients in the legal space, but there's a lot of resistance to putting yourself out there online. Like a lot of attorneys are not willing to even get on a podcast because it's like there's so many reasons why they don't want to be 100% transparent about everything that they're doing or offering or their methods or whatever, what have you, right? It's this weird kind of culture. I get a lot of pushback from attorneys, to be honest, when it comes to the sales process, which I do own. I've been on hundreds of sales calls with people in the legal world, and I will say that my closing percentage is not as high. I don't think
Di
it's just a me
uh,
thing.
Attorneys are notoriously hard to work with and are notoriously terrible marketers as well, which is unfortunate because marketing is very much just about communication, and you want an attorney who's a good communicator.
Totally. Yep. And so I kind of want to switch gears a little bit. What's one of the biggest misconception people do have about attorneys from shows like Suits or other legal realities? Are there any cliches that make you laugh or cringe?
Well, I think the saying is 99% of attorneys give the rest of us a bad name. I think I would rather address misconceptions people have about the offshore world, and that's that offshore trusts are illegal. No, they're not illegal. Asset protection trusts have been around since the mid 1980s internationally and domestically since the late 1990s. There's nothing illegal about setting up an offshore domestic trust. The other misconception is that we already addressed, only for the super wealthy. Another misconception is that you need to go somewhere to set up an offshore trust. You never have to leave home. You're going to not be able to get your money back. That's not accurate as well either. There's a lot of misconceptions about the offshore world. And I think a lot of this actually comes from attorneys who don't like the asset protection industry because it makes their jobs moot. If everybody had an asset protection, offshore trust, plaintiff attorneys wouldn't have anyone to sue, defense attorneys wouldn't have anyone to defend, law schools wouldn't have anybody applying, and all of a sudden, all this talent that is used to argue over money may actually be going to producing something of value for society. On top of that, a lot more marriages would stay intact if people weren't receiving a payday for breaking up their family.
Yep, that's a great point. Have you ever had any cases that became unexpectedly difficult or emotional?
Yeah, I mean, emotion is a big part about lawsuits, and a big part of the reason clients choose to work with our law firm is because of how much confidence they get when they work with us. We're very transparent about who owns our company. We're very transparent about our process. We're very transparent about our pricing. And you can just hear it in my voice and the voice of the other attorneys who work here. You're going to be much more at peace working with a firm with our level of experience and the level of professionalism that we display. So emotions are common and we do our best to alleviate them. I very much want to help people protect their money, but if I can just offer words of healing along the way too, I am honored to be able to do that.
What's a story that changed the way that you practice law or think about protection?
What's the a story that changed the way I practice law? I am a no BS type of guy. I run a no BS type of law firm, and I have met other attorneys before who I like their style and they are very much to the point, and I have copied that along the way where we don't fluff. We don't charge extra for fluff. We don't provide fluff. So it has been good that I have met a lot of attorneys along the way. Some I like the way they do things, some I don't like the way they do things, and learn from the things you like and learn how not to do things you don't like. So I have been blessed. I don't know if I would call this blessed, but blessed to have interacted with many attorneys along the way and learned much from all the heroes and crooks I've met along the way.
Yeah, and that's powerful because, you kind of develop your own value system, and it sounds to me like the no BS approach, and just being straight up with your clients has resulted in them trusting you more and probably wanting to go back and do repeat business with you. That was kind of going to be my next question though. How do you get repeat business if someone just sets up a trust offshore one time? Is that something you care for, or are there other services? Like, how does that all work?
So setting up the trust is pretty much the only thing that we do. But in addition to setting up the trust, we serve as an ongoing advisor. So there is a small annual fee, but it's very rare that somebody's going to set up multiple offshore trusts. It does happen in some unique circumstances, but it's not like a car where you're buying a new car every 5 years. You pretty much get a lifetime warranty with our plan.
Got it. And so basically, it's just ongoing advisory on how to manage the trust.
It's ongoing advice on how to manage it. It's access to our global Rolodex. We provide an annual tax memo. There's a few things that go with it, but we serve as your ongoing advisor. We don't just set you up with the trust and then wish you well on your journey. We're going to guide you all along the way to make sure that you get the best possible result.
Got it. On the personal side, a little bit, how do you manage, I mean, running this firm and your family, your health, everything else that's important to you?
So work-life balance, I think, is BS. I believe in work and life success. And I think it's true that the people who work the hardest and succeed in business the most are the ones who probably have better relationships with their family members and take better care of their health as well. I take most afternoons or some mornings and do some intense Muay Thai exercise to keep myself in good shape and keep myself feeling well and make sure that I take out any pain that I have on a punching bag and not on one of my clients or one of my employees or one of my family members. They're not always perfect about it,
Here, by the way,
but
I could totally relate
but
with
I'm
that.
a person who likes an intense level of work. I'm a person who likes an intense level of exercise. I l- I have been blessed that I've traveled to some very cool locations, and then I have brought my children back to them, and I take my children every summer to a special island in the Caribbean where we do some work as well. And while I'm there, I pretty much and totally unplug and give them my undivided attention for a few days. I think that I call my mom pretty much every single day. I've got good relationships with all of my family members. I am lucky that my work does allow flexibility. I can do it from anywhere in the world. So if I need to be at an event for my children or another family member or a friend, I'm there. No doubt about it. I'm also lucky that if I have a few hours where I'm stuck in an airport, I can just grind away at some work and get caught up and get ahead on some work. So it's nice that the job allows flexibility, which lets me continue to move the ball forward, and it allows me to also be there for family, friends, and my personal health and well-being.
Yeah, and I could totally relate with that on the, forget about work-life balance, like, for me, I wanna go full tilt into whatever I'm doing, and I've kind of seen that I need, seasons. There are seasons where I'm going to over-index a little bit more on certain things, and that means I gotta pull back on some others. My work-life balance is just on a more macro scale. It's like, am I doing the things that I actually enjoy? Am I getting closer to where I want to be and who I wanna be? And, do I feel free in doing all that, right? And so, I used to work a 9 to 5 job for the federal government of Canada, and before I started this podcast and embark on all this, all of my entrepreneurial journey, that was the biggest thing that I couldn't stand is all these people around me. I mean, they're as balanced as you can be. You're clocking out at this time and you're spending time with your family, all this stuff. Everyone's miserable.
Yep.
So for me, having something that I can put my soul into while still doing the afternoon Muay Thai, which I do as well, and yeah, and being able to, in the mid-afternoon go for a workout, and a strenuous one like Muay Thai, which I train as well, or some kind of lift or something, and then go and shrug away and work on something that I love for the next however many hours. It's an honor, it's a privilege, but that it comes with sacrifice. There are times when I don't have the amount of time I'd love to put into certain relationships. There's times when, I'm up late at night or I'm up very early when I might not want to be. And there's sacrifices that have to be made, but overall, I'd have it no other way. Like, this is the thing, this is my thing, and I'm building it, and hell, it's got my name on it, so it's good for my ego too.
Good. Yes, I think that the father who works hard and travels a lot and sees their kids sometimes is a much better role model than a father who's always there but doesn't do anything with their life or take care of their health.
Totally. Blake, is there something I didn't cover yet about the world that you're in that you want to shout from the rooftops?
So, one question that I think is going to be nice to answer is, what about the ethics of offshore trust? And if you start a business in the United States, somebody's going to be very quick to say, set up an LLC. Why? To protect yourself from lawsuits. And as your assets grow, somebody may set up a revocable trust. Why? To protect your children from lawsuits and divorce. And once your net worth gets to around $500,000, somebody may say, set up a domestic asset protection trust. Why? To protect yourself from lawsuits. But then as soon as you say set up an offshore trust, the actual only tool that's going to be effective, some people start saying, oh, well, that sounds weird. That sounds questionable. The reality is most Americans, and not you or me or anybody listening to this podcast, but the other Americans generally are very narrow-minded. Most have never left the United States, and those who have, most haven't gone anywhere other than Canada or Mexico.
Have a passport.
And the reality is there is nothing ethical about being weak, about being vulnerable, about being unprotected, about being in a position where somebody can come and steal all of your wealth. I think the most honorable and ethical thing an individual can do is make themselves as strong, as protective as possible. Offshore trusts are legal, they are ethical, they're good business sense, and when done properly in advance of any litigation, they can absolutely be one of the best investments an individual makes. And if you'd like to learn more about offshore trusts, can I give my pitch here?
Of course, I was about to ask you.
Visit blakeharrislaw.com, fill out a contact form, or give a call to my law firm. We'd be happy to schedule a no-cost consultation where we can evaluate your individual risk exposure and see whether an offshore trust or some other strategy would be recommended for you. I'm also on all of the major social media platforms at blakeharrislaw.com. I'm sorry, at Blake Harris Law, or is the social media, and the website is blakeharrislaw.com.
Blake, my man, I really appreciate your time today. This has been an incredibly enlightening podcast. I can't wait to use your services someday.
I would be honored to work with you, Deepak. Thank you so much for having me on your show today.
Thank you. And just remember, everyone, it's not that deep.